The distress call, the merchant vessel Silver Wing, tumbled through the void, its silver hull scarred by plasma burns that still glowed orange against the darkness of space. Inside the bridge, Captain Vex gripped his command chair with all four of his delicate arms, his large black eyes reflecting the chaos of warning lights that painted the room in shades of red and amber. Shields at 12%. First Officer Tam shouted over the shriek of alarms. The young Krell's pale blue skin had turned almost white with fear, his throat sac pulsing rapidly as he struggled to breathe through the terror. Another direct hit, and we're finished. Through the view screen, 3 Ravager destroyers circled their prey like predators of the void. Each ship was a monument to brutality, black metal adorned with the bones of conquered species, their hulls deliberately designed to inspire terror. The Ravagers had built their empire on slavery and fear, taking entire populations to work in their mines until death claimed them. Return fire! Vex commanded, though he knew their merchant vessel's defensive weapons were nothing compared to military-grade Ravager cannons. The Silver Wing managed a few weak laser bursts that splashed harmlessly against the pirates. Shields. The ship shuddered violently as another plasma bolt tore through their port side. Engineer Drax's voice crackled through the com system. "Captain, we've lost engine 2. The core is overheating. We have maybe 10 minutes before complete shutdown." 20 souls aboard his ship. 20 peaceful Krell traders whose only crime was carrying medical supplies to the outer colonies. Vex had served as captain for 30 cycles, and never had he faced such darkness. The Ravagers didn't just kill. They enslaved, tortured, and broke spirits for their amusement. "Sir," Tam's voice dropped to barely a whisper, his 6 fingers dancing over his console. I'm picking up no allied vessels within standard communication range. The nearest patrol ship is 8 hours away. 8 hours. They had 10 minutes. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing Commander Grix of the Ravager fleet. The creature's scarred face split into a grin that revealed rows of filed teeth. His species, the Gorati, were already fearsome, but the Ravagers enhanced themselves with combat drugs and surgical modifications that made them living weapons. "Little merchants," Grix growled, his voice like grinding metal. "Surrender now, and perhaps half of you will survive the mining camps. Fight, and we'll make your deaths last for days as entertainment for my crew." Vex closed his eyes, feeling the weight of command crushing down on him. In the corner of the bridge, Navigator Pip, barely past his juvenile molt, trembled uncontrollably. The youngest crew member had joined them just 2 cycles ago, full of dreams about seeing the galaxy. "Captain," Tam suddenly straightened, his fingers freezing over his console. There's another option, but it violates every protocol we have. Speak. We could send a wideband SOS, completely open, all frequencies, all directions." Tam's throat sac pulsed nervously. Including toward the forbidden sector. The bridge went silent except for the distant rumble of another impact against their failing shields. Every spacefaring species knew about the forbidden sector, about the world designated as Type 12, the highest Deathworld classification possible. Earth, home of the humans. The Deathworlders? Drax's voice came through the com, pitched high with disbelief. "Captain, the stories. They say humans come from a world where the gravity crushes normal beings, where the very air is poison, where water falls from the sky in quantities that could drown cities. They're monsters," Pip whispered. "Predators that evolved on a planet, trying to kill them every moment. They might be worse than the Ravagers." Another impact. Shields at 5%. Vex looked at his crew, these good people who trusted him. The Ravagers would definitely brutalize them. The humans might help, or might not, but even the smallest chance was better than certain doom. "Send it," Vex commanded. Wideband, all frequencies. Include our coordinates, our situation, everything. Tam's fingers flew over the controls. A distress signal burst out from the silver wing, racing through space at the speed of light, carrying with it the desperate hope of 20 souls. It spread in all directions, but Tam aimed the strongest pulse toward the forbidden sector, toward Earth. Signal sent, Captain. They waited. Another impact knocked out their shields entirely. Grix appeared on screen again, laughing. Calling for help, were you? No one will come, little prey. This sector belongs to the Ravagers now. But in the space between heartbeats, between one terrified breath and the next, something changed. Tam's console lit up with an incoming transmission. The source coordinates made everyone freeze. It was from the forbidden sector. A new voice filled the bridge, speaking accented but clear Galactic standard. Male, calm, almost casual. This is Captain Ross of the Earth vessel, Iron Resolve. We received your distress signal. Hold on, we're coming. Ate. 7 minutes. Asterisk the Deathworlders arrived. The bridge of the Silver Wing fell into stunned silence. 7 minutes. The humans claimed they could cover a distance that should take hours in just 7 minutes. It was impossible. Commander Grix's laughter boomed through the comm system. Humans? You called the Deathworlders? How delightfully stupid. One of their primitive ships against 3 Ravager destroyers? This will be entertaining. Captain Vex watched his tactical display with growing dread. A single blip had appeared at the edge of sensor range, moving at speeds that made the computer question its own readings. The human ship was small, barely a quarter the size of a Ravager destroyer. Captain, Tam's voice shook. Their acceleration. It's reading at 40 standard units. That's impossible, Drac finished through the comm. Nothing biological could survive those forces. They'd be paced against their own walls. But the blip kept coming. Steady and true got another plasma bolt slammed into the Silver Wing, without shields. It tore through 3 decks, venting atmosphere into space. The screams of his crew echoed through the comm system as emergency bulkheads slammed shut. Hull breach on decks 7 through 9. Tam reported. We've lost artificial gravity in the aft section. Through the view screen, Vex could see the Ravager ships positioning themselves, their weapons ports glowing as they prepared to deliver the killing blow. Grix wanted to finish them before the humans arrived. A final act of spite. Then, space itself seemed to scream. The human vessel dropped out of hyperspace so close to the battle that its arrival sent gravitational ripples through local space. The Iron Resolve was unlike any ship Vex had ever seen, a brutal cylinder of gray metal with no aesthetic considerations, no smooth curves or artistic flourishes. It was purely functional, built for one purpose, war. This is Captain Ross to Ravager vessels. The human's voice was steady, almost bored. You have 10 seconds to cease fire and withdraw. Grix's response was a barrage of plasma fire directed at the human ship. The bolts that could cripple a merchant vessel in one hit splashed against the Iron Resolve's hull, leaving barely a scorch mark. Their armor ... Tam's eyes widened. Captain, my sensors can't even identify what it's made of. It's dense like a collapsed star. The human ship's response was swift and brutal. Instead of energy weapons, ports along its hull opened and launched what looked like primitive metal projectiles. Kinetic weapons, considered obsolete by every civilized species. The first projectile hit the nearest Ravager destroyer at a fraction of light speed. The ship's shields, designed to disperse energy weapons, did nothing against simple physics. The projectile punched through the hull like paper, continuing through the entire ship and exiting the other side. The destroyer split in half, venting atmosphere and bodies into space. Impossible, Vex breathed. Those are just ... rocks, metal rocks, sir. Tam pointed at his screen. The human ship it's opening its airlocks. Without deploying tubes. On the tactical display, 5 small heat signatures launched from the Ire Resolve. Human bodies, wearing what looked like minimal armor, propelling themselves through open space toward the remaining Ravager ships. No propulsion packs, no full environment suits, just humans in combat armor with magnetic boots and handheld weapons. Commander Grix's voice crackled with rage and something else, fear. All ships. Kill those boarding parties. Kill the humans. Dozens of Ravager fighters launched, spraying energy fire at the approaching humans. Vex watched in horrified fascination as the humans twisted in space, using small thrusters on their suits to dodge with impossible precision. One human took a direct hit that would have vaporized any other species. The human tumbled, steadied, and kept coming. Their bones ... Drax's voice was filled with awe. My medical scanners are going crazy. Their skeleton density is like metal. Their muscle fibers. Captain, they're designed to operate under 3 times standard gravity. The first human reached a Ravager destroyer. Using magnetic boots, the figure, barely 2 meters tall, walked along the hull as if taking a casual stroll. The human placed something on the hull, then launched themselves away. 10 seconds later, a section of the destroyer simply ceased to exist, blown inward by an explosion that shouldn't have been possible from such a small device. Inside the breach, Vex could see Ravager crew members being pulled into space. Then he saw something that would haunt him forever. One of the humans entered through the breach without a helmet. The human held his breath in the vacuum of space, moving through the destroyed section to reach an airlock. The creature was surviving in conditions that would kill any other known species in seconds. New contacts. Tam shouted. More human ships arriving. But these weren't military vessels. The ship identifications marked them as civilian mining vessels, transport ships, even what appeared to be a modified agricultural hauler. 13 human ships now faced the remaining Ravager destroyers. A new human voice joined the communication channel. Female, with an accent different from Captain Ross. This is Captain Walker of the mining vessel Rockbreaker. Heard you folks were having pirate problems. We don't take kindly to bullies in human space. Human space? Grix snarled. This is Ravager territory. Not anymore, Ross replied simply. The mining vessel's equipment powered up tools designed to crack asteroids now aimed at Ravager ships. A mining laser meant to slice through solid rock cut through a destroyer's shields like they weren't there. The agricultural hauler released a cloud of something that ate through Ravager hull plating in seconds. Crop pesticide, Tam's computer suggested. Designed to kill Earth insects that were apparently harder to destroy than spaceship armor. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted less than 3 minutes. One Ravager destroyer was crippled, floating dead in space. The other tried to flee, but the human ships pursued. Their crews operating their vessels at speeds that should have pulped them against their own bulkheads. Through it all, Vex noticed something that terrified him more than the violence. The humans were coordinating without apparent communication, moving as a pack, like the persistence predators they evolved from. They didn't fight with rage or bloodlust like the Ravagers. They fought with cold, calculated efficiency. Lieutenant Walker's voice crackled through the comms. Captain Vex, this is Lieutenant Walker. I'm aboard your ship. Don't be alarmed. I'm here to help with repairs and wounded. Vex spun to see a human standing in his bridge doorway. The creature had somehow boarded without triggering any alarms. The human removed her helmet, revealing a face that looked deceptively soft, bilateral symmetry, forward-facing predator eyes, and what Vex would later learn was called a smile. How ... Tam started. Your airlock was damaged, Walker said, her voice gentle despite having just participated in destroying 2 warships. I came through the hull breach in Section 7. Don't worry, I patched it on my way in. My team is already working on your injured. We brought medical supplies. You came through the breach? Vex's throat sac pulsed rapidly. Without a suit? Walker shrugged, a uniquely human gesture. I held my breath. We can go about 4 minutes without air if we need to. 5 if we're really pushing it. Behind her, 2 more humans entered carrying a wounded Krell crew member. They lifted him as if he weighed nothing, despite Vex knowing the engineer weighed at least 200 standard units. Your crew member has internal bleeding, one of the humans said, producing a medical scanner. We can treat it, but we need your medical bay. Our antibodies might be toxic to your species, so we'll use your supplies. Vex found himself nodding numbly. These creatures that had just destroyed 2 Ravager destroyers with terrifying ease were now carefully tending to his wounded with the same focused intensity. Captain Ross's face appeared on the main view screen, replacing the damaged tactical display. The human looked unremarkable. No fangs, no claws, just those forward-facing eyes and an expression of concern. Captain Vex, Commander Grix is requesting terms of surrender. What would you like us to do with him? The wrath unleashed Captain Vex stared at the human on his view screen, unable to process the question. The commander of a Ravager fleet was surrendering? To a handful of civilian ships? Before he could respond, alarms shrieked across the bridge. Tam's pale face went even whiter. Captain, massive hyperspace signatures incoming. 20. No, 25 Ravager vessels. The view screen split to show the new arrivals. A full Ravager battle fleet, including 2 carrier-class vessels that dwarfed everything else in the area. Grix's backup had arrived. Well, Captain Ross said calmly, that complicates things? A new face appeared on the communication channel, Admiral Korg of the Ravager fleet. A scarred Gorati, whose reputation for cruelty was legendary. This is Admiral Korg. You destroyed Ravager property. You killed Ravager warriors. The penalty is death for all involved. Surrender the humans and we might spare the merchants. Counteroffer, Ross replied, his tone conversational. You leave now, and we let you live? Korg's laughter was like breaking glass. 13 ships against 25? You Deathworlders are more stupid than the stories say. Ross turned to someone off-screen. Tonson, send the message. What message? Vex asked weakly. The one that tells every human vessel within range that civilians are under attack, Ross replied. Then louder, addressing the Ravager fleet. Admiral Korg, you have 2 minutes to reconsider. After that, we stop being nice. Lieutenant Walker, still on the bridge of the Silver Wing, pulled out a small communication device. All human vessels in range, this is Lieutenant Walker. We have wounded civilians and a Ravager fleet threatening. Repeat, civilians under attack. The response was immediate and chilling. Voices flooded the channel. Dozens, then hundreds of them. Cargo haulers, research vessels, private yachts, industrial ships. Even a ship that identified itself as a pizza delivery vessel, all confirming they were en route. ETA 4 minutes, someone reported. 5 here. 6 minutes out? But we're bringing the big drill. Vex watched his tactical display in growing amazement as ship after ship changed course toward their location. These weren't military vessels answering a call to arms. These were human civilians dropping whatever they were doing to race toward danger. You're all insane. Grix's voice crackled through the cum from his crippled destroyer. Don't you understand? You're rushing to your deaths. Maybe, Ross admitted. But here's something you don't understand about humans. We're persistence predators. Our ancestors would chase prey for hours, days even. We don't give up. And when you threaten innocence, his voice dropped to something cold and dangerous. Well, that's when we stop pretending to be civilized. The 2 minutes passed. Admiral Korg ordered his fleet to attack. What followed would later be called the miracle of Sector 7 by some, the Deathworlder massacre by others. The Ravager fleet opened fire with everything they had: plasma cannons, missile barrages, fighter screens. The human ships responded with tactics that defied all conventional warfare logic. The mining vessel, Rockbreaker, accelerated directly at a Ravager carrier, using its reinforced drilling equipment as a ram. The impact should have destroyed both ships. Instead, the human vessel punched through the carrier's hull and emerged from the other side, trailing debris but still functional. The carrier split in half, its crew scrambling for escape pods. Their ships are built to survive Earth, Tam exclaimed. Hurricanes with winds that would tear our vessels apart. Ocean pressures that would crush normal hulls. They build everything like it has to survive their world trying to kill it. A small human courier ship, barely armed, flew directly into a swarm of Ravager fighters. Instead of fighting, it released something into space, a cloud of tiny metal fragments. The fighters flew through it and simply stopped working, their electronics fried. Chaff, Walker explained, watching from the bridge. We use it to confuse radar on Earth. Apparently works pretty well on alien tech too. The pizza delivery vessel, which turned out to be real, had strapped mining charges to pizza delivery drones and was using them as guided missiles. It should have been absurd. It was devastatingly effective. But the real horror, from the Ravager perspective, came when human ships started working in perfect coordination without any apparent communication. They moved like a school of fish, like a flock of birds, like the pack predators they'd evolved from. How are they doing that? Vex asked. Pattern recognition, Walker said. We evolved to hunt in groups. We can predict what other humans will do based on tiny cues. It's instinct. More human ships arrived, 40, 60, 90. Each one civilian, each one seemingly fragile compared to military vessels. Each one crewed by humans who treated the deadly environment of space combat like a minor inconvenience. The agricultural hauler released more of its pesticide cloud, this time mixed with fertilizer components that reacted violently with Ravager shield frequencies. A luxury yacht used its entertainment hologram system to create dozens of false targets, confusing Ravager targeting systems. A research vessel studying stellar phenomena turned its sensors into weapons, overloading Ravager navigation with data bursts. And through it all, the humans boarded enemy ships, not in organized military formations, but as individuals or small groups, using improvised equipment and sheer physical superiority. They walked through sections with atmosphere that would poison other species. They survived in temperature extremes that should have been lethal. They kept fighting even when injured in ways that would have killed any other known species. My God, Drax's voice came through the cum. I'm reading the medical data from a human who was just hit with a plasma bolt. Third-degree burns over 40% of his body. He's still fighting. His body is flooding with chemicals, adrenaline, endorphins. He's using pain as fuel. One Ravager destroyer tried to ram the Iron Resolve, a desperation move. Captain Ross's response was broadcast across all channels. All hands, brace for impact. We're going to show them why human ships have crumple zones. The collision was tremendous. The Ravager ship crumpled like paper. The Iron Resolve's nose was compressed, but the ship remained functional. It had been designed to absorb impacts that would destroy other vessels, because on Earth, humans had learned to build things that could survive crashes. Admiral Korg's flagship, seeing the battle turning, powered up its planet-killer weapon, a massive plasma cannon designed to crack moons. It aimed at the cluster of human civilian ships. "No!" Vex shouted, but the humans had already responded. Every human ship with mining equipment, industrial tools, or even kitchen lasers focused on a single point on the flagship's shields. The combined assault was like nothing in any military manual. 100 different types of energy and kinetic damage hitting the exact same spot. The shields failed. A single human in a maintenance suit, using nothing but determination and a handheld plasma cutter, flew into the flagship's weapon port. The human disappeared inside. 10 seconds later, the planet-killer weapon exploded from within, taking half the flagship with it. The remaining Ravager ships tried to flee. The humans pursued, not with rage or vengeance, but with the cold, methodical efficiency of persistence predators who had decided their prey needed to be stopped. "Please." Admiral Korg's voice crackled through the comm. "We surrender. We surrender." "You surrendered when we gave you the chance," Ross replied. "Now you're just trying to run. This is against the conventions of war." Korg screamed. "Those conventions assume both sides see surrender the same way," Ross said coldly. "You use surrender as a tactic, attack when enemies show mercy. We learned that kind of behavior gets people killed. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to power down all weapons, all engines, everything but life support. Any ship that doesn't comply in 30 seconds, it's treated as hostile." 28 ships powered down. 2 tried to jump to hyperspace. They made it about half a light year before human ships caught them. What happened next was broadcast to the powered-down Ravager fleet as a warning. The humans didn't destroy the fleeing ships. They disabled them, ordered them, and arrested every crew member for attempted flight from justice. Back on the Silver Wing, Captain Vex watched in stunned silence as the humans began rescue operations. The same beings who had just destroyed or captured an entire Ravager battle fleet were now carefully extracting survivors from wreckage, treating wounded enemies alongside injured merchants. Lieutenant Walker received a communication and turned to Vex. "Captain, we have medical teams requesting permission to come aboard. Your wounded need attention. We also have engineers who can help with repairs." You just destroyed a fleet 3 times your size," Vex managed. "And now you want to help with repairs?" Walker nodded, that strange human expression called a smile on her face. "Of course. You asked for help. That's why we came. But the violence, the destruction, was necessary to stop them from hurting you," Walker said simply. "We don't like violence, Captain, but we're very, very good at it when we need to be. It's the difference between us and the Ravagers. They enjoy it. For us, it's just ... Tuesday. Tuesday? Sorry, Earth expression. It means it's nothing special. Just another day." The idea that this level of destruction was considered nothing special to humans made Vex's throat sac pulse with renewed fear. "Captain," Ross's face appeared on the screen again. "Captain Vex, the threat has been neutralized. We have repair teams and medical supplies ready. With your permission, we'd like to help get you back on your feet." "Why?" Vex asked. "Why did you answer? Why did they all come?" Ross looked genuinely puzzled. "You sent an SOS. Someone was hurting innocent people. Why wouldn't we come?" Understanding the protectors. The medical bay of the Silver Wing had been transformed. Human medical personnel moved between beds with an efficiency that seemed almost choreographed, treating wounded Krell with a gentleness that contradicted everything Vex had just witnessed in battle. Dr. Mills, the human chief medical officer from the Iron Resolve, knelt beside Navigator Pip's bed. The young Krell had suffered severe plasma burns, his blue skin blackened and blistered. Any other species doctor would have needed powered assistance to work in the Silver Wing's lighter gravity. But Mills moved as if she'd been born to it. "This is going to sting a bit," Mills said softly, applying a gel to Pip's wounds. "Your species processes pain differently than ours, so I'm adjusting the medication. We had to synthesize it specifically for Krell biology. Our standard painkillers would probably kill you." "Kill?" Pip's voice was weak. Mills nodded matter-of-factly. "Most of our medical compounds are derived from Earth organisms. What we use for headaches comes from tree bark that's toxic to 60% of known species. Our antibiotics are biological weapons to most aliens. We're basically walking biological hazard zones." Despite her terrifying words, her hands were incredibly gentle. Vex watched as she lifted medical equipment that should have required 2 Krell to move, positioning it with delicate precision. "Dr. Mills," Vex approached carefully. "May I ask you something?" "Of course, Captain. Your species just destroyed 25 warships. But you're treating our wounded like they're made of glass." "I don't understand." Mills paused in her work, considering. "Captain, have you ever heard of Earth?" "Only the warnings. Type 12 Deathworld. Unsurvivable." "It's not unsurvivable," Mills said with that strange human expression, a smile. "We survived it. But you're right about it being harsh. On Earth, we have storms called hurricanes that can level entire cities, earthquakes that reshape landscapes, volcanoes that can blot out the sun with ash. And that's just the planet itself." She continued working as she spoke. "We have creatures called mosquitoes, tiny flying insects that kill more humans than any predator. Microscopic organisms that can destroy our bodies from within. Plants that produce toxins that can kill with a touch. And compared to most worlds, our gravity is crushing, our atmosphere is highly reactive, and our star bombards us with radiation." "Then how did you survive?" Pip asked, fascinated despite his pain. "We adapted," Mills said. "We became persistence hunters. We developed intelligence to predict threats. We formed communities to protect each other. And most importantly, ... She looked directly at Vex. "We learned that everything is fragile. Life is precious because on Earth, death is always just one mistake away." The door to the medical bay opened, and Captain Ross entered, accompanied by several human engineers. They were carrying crates of supplies. Asterisk. "Captain Vex," Ross nodded. "My engineers have assessed your damage. With your permission, we'd like to not just repair, but upgrade your shields. The Ravagers will think twice before attacking you again." "Why would you do this?" Vex asked. "We have nothing to offer you. We're just merchants." Ross set down a crate and opened it, revealing technology Vex didn't recognize. "Can I tell you about human history, Captain?" Vex nodded slowly. "We were alone in the universe for thousands of years," Ross began. "We fought among ourselves, wars that killed millions. We nearly destroyed our planet multiple times. We thought we were the only intelligent life in existence, and that loneliness, it nearly broke us." He pulled out a device and began installing it. "When we finally achieved faster-than-light travel and found other species, we were overjoyed. Then we learned we were classified as Deathworlders. Most species were terrified of us. The Galactic Council debated whether to quarantine Earth permanently." "What changed?" Tam asked from his bed, where another human medic was treating his fractured arm. "The Altair incident," Ross said. "A colony ship from the Gentle Alliance, 600 families, sent out a distress signal. They were being raided by early Ravager groups. No one responded because it was in contested space. Too dangerous." He connected power to the new shield generator. A human cargo ship heard it. Just one ship with a crew of 12. They responded. They saved 400 lives that day. Lost 3 humans doing it. 3 humans died to save strangers? Vex couldn't hide his amazement. 3 humans decided that protecting innocence was worth dying for, Ross corrected. The galaxy learned something that day. We might be dangerous, but we choose to be protectors. It's like having a trained wolf instead of a wild one. We're still predators, but we've decided you're our pack now. A communication alert sounded. The main screen activated, showing dozens of alien vessels approaching. Gentle Alliance, Krell Confederation, even some Yothran traders. Captain Vex, came a familiar voice. It was Admiral Thren of the Krell Navy. We detected the battle. Are you safe? Before Vex could respond, he heard the whispers from the other ships. They'd detected the human vessels. Fear rippled through the communication channels. We're safe, Admiral, Vex said clearly. The humans saved us. The Deathworlders are there? On your ship? Yes, Vex said, straightening. They answered our distress call when no one else could arrive in time. They risked their lives for us. Dr. Mills looked up from her patient. Admiral, this is Dr. Mills. I'm treating your wounded. We should have everyone stable within the hour. The silence from the fleet was deafening. Then, a small voice, Captain Yix of a Gentle Alliance trader. The humans helped? They did more than help, Vex said, finding his courage. They fought off 25 Ravager vessels. Civilian ships, Admiral. Miners and traders, and even a pizza delivery ship. They came because we needed help. Captain Ross stepped forward. This is Captain Ross. We're transmitting our shield modification specs to any vessel that wants them. No charge. The Ravagers have been preying on peaceful species for too long. We'd like to change that. You're giving away military technology? Admiral Thren sounded stunned. It's not military, Ross said. It's just what we use on Earth to survive thunderstorms. Figured it might help against plasma weapons, too. Engineer Drax's voice came through the internal com. Captain Vex, you need to see this. The humans have installed something called Kinetic Point Defense System. It's brilliant. It uses simple projectiles to destroy incoming missiles. No energy drain on our shields. More human ships were arriving now, not for battle, but bringing supplies. Food, medicine, replacement parts. The pizza delivery ship actually started distributing food to the rescued Ravager prisoners, because, as the human pilot said, even prisoners deserve a hot meal. I don't understand your species, Vex said to Ross. You're the apex predators from a death world. You could conquer the galaxy if you wanted. Ross looked genuinely horrified at the suggestion. Conquer? Captain, we've seen what happens when the strong prey on the weak. We lived it for thousands of years on Earth. We know what it's like to be afraid, to be hunted, to be helpless. He paused, his expression darkening. And we know what we're capable of when pushed. That's why we choose to be better. But the Ravagers will come back, Tam said. They'll want revenge. Let them come, a new voice said. Commander Stone entered the medical bay, his massive frame barely fitting through the doorway. Captain Vex, I've just come from interrogating Admiral Korg. He's agreed to provide information about Ravager slave camps in exchange for leniency. We're organizing rescue missions. Rescue missions? Stone nodded. There are thousands of slaves in Ravager space. We're going to get them out. That's an act of war, Vex said. The Ravager Empire won't stand for it. Then the Ravager Empire will fall, Stone said simply. We've sent a message to their leadership. Release all slaves, cease all raiding, or face the consequences. You can't defeat an entire empire. Ross and Stone exchanged a look that made Vex's skin turn pale. Captain, Mills said gently, humans have a saying, we don't start fights, but we finish them. The Ravagers started this when they attacked innocent people. We'll finish it. The Galactic Council would later call an emergency session about the human question. But in the medical bay of a damaged merchant vessel, surrounded by humans who had just saved their lives, the crew of the Silver Wing had already found their answer. These Deathworlders, these impossible beings from a nightmare world, had chosen to be guardians. And perhaps that was the most terrifying thing of all, not their strength, but their choice to use it protecting others. "Captain Ross," Vex said formally, "on behalf of my crew and the Krell Confederation, I thank you." Ross seemed embarrassed by the gratitude. "Just doing what anyone would do." "No," Vex said firmly. "Not anyone. Only humans would race toward danger to save strangers. Only Deathworlders would have the strength to win. And only your species would then tend to our wounds with such care." As if to emphasize the point, Pip called out from his bed, "Dr. Mills, this medicine is amazing. The pain is gone." "How?" Mills laughed, a sound that would have been terrifying if not for its warmth. "Oh, that's derived from a fish toxin from Earth. It's about 50 times stronger than anything you've probably experienced. On Earth, we use it for minor surgeries." "Minor?" Pip squeaked. "Welcome to human medicine," Mills grinned. "Where our planet tried to kill us for millions of years gave us the best pharmaceutical chemistry in the galaxy." The New Alliance, the Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council, had never been so silent. Representatives from 300 civilized worlds sat in stunned silence as the human ambassador stood at the central podium. Ambassador David Park was unremarkable by human standards. Average height, graying hair, wearing a simple black suit instead of ceremonial robes. "The Human Coalition hereby announces," Park said, his voice carrying across the vast chamber, "that any distress signal from any species will be answered. Any attack on civilian vessels will be met with immediate response. Any slavery, piracy, or predation on innocent beings will face human intervention." The Yothran representative stood, his crystalline form chiming with agitation. "You cannot simply declare yourselves protectors of the galaxy. There are laws, procedures, jurisdictions. Your laws didn't save the Silver Wing," Park interrupted calmly. "Your procedures would have left 20 Krell to slavery or death. Your jurisdictions mean nothing to pirates and slavers. This is a declaration of war against the Ravager Empire." The Gorati representative, not a Ravager, but from the same species, protested. "No," Park corrected. "We gave them a choice. Release all slaves, cease all raids, submit to justice. They chose war." A hologram appeared above the assembly, hundreds of human ships gathering at staging points across the galaxy. Not military fleets, but civilian vessels armed with mining equipment, industrial tools, and human determination. "This is impossible," the council chairman said. "The Ravager Empire has 1,000 warships." Park smiled, an expression that made several representatives shift uncomfortably. "Chairman, may I share something about human psychology? We have a concept called righteous anger. It's what happens when someone hurts innocence. It's what mobilized our entire species when we heard about the slave camps." The hologram shifted, showing feeds from across human space. Shipyards working overtime. Volunteers signing up by the millions. Children donating their allowances to buy medical supplies for freed slaves. "You see," Park continued, "every human knows what it's like to be weak. We evolved as prey before we became predators. We remember being hunted. So when we see others being hunted," he paused, "we take it personally." 3 weeks had passed since the incident at the Silver Wing. In that time, the galaxy had watched in awe as humanity mobilized not for conquest, but for protection. On the frontier world of Kepler 442b, a Ravager raiding party descended on a Gentle Alliance farming colony. They expected easy prey. Instead, they found a human family who had moved there to study alien agriculture. The entire raiding party was found tied up in the town square, subdued by a single human farmer named Tom, who, as he told reporters later, just didn't think it was neighborly to let folks get robbed. The Ravager Empire's response was swift and brutal. They gathered their 1,000 ships at their stronghold of Darkport Station, a massive military installation built into an asteroid. Admiral Korg, released on bail pending trial, had fled back to them with intelligence about human tactics. "They're not invincible," Korg told the Ravager War Council. "They're just physical freaks from a death world. Our weapons can kill them. We just need overwhelming numbers." The Ravager fleet sent a message to humanity: "Come and die. Deathworlders." Humanity's response was broadcast across every frequency in the galaxy. "On our way. Captain Vex," his ship now repaired and upgraded with human technology, watched from a safe distance as the human fleet assembled. He'd volunteered to act as a medical support vessel, despite Krell law forbidding involvement in foreign conflicts. "How many ships?" Tam asked, trying to count the arrivals. 50, Vex counted. Just 50. Against 1,000. Captain Ross's iron resolve led the human fleet. His message to the Ravagers was simple: "Last chance, surrender." The Ravagers responded with a massive barrage, thousands of weapons firing simultaneously. It should have been a massacre. Should have been. The human ships scattered in perfect coordination, no two taking the same path. They dove through the barrage with maneuvers that would have liquefied most species. Where shields failed, human ships simply took the hits, their impossible armor absorbing damage that would have vaporized normal vessels. Then the humans did something unprecedented in galactic warfare. They didn't fight the fleet. They went for the station. "They're insane," Tam gasped. "Darkport's defenses are impregnable." But the humans weren't trying to destroy it. 20 ships formed a perimeter, holding off the Ravager fleet with devastating volleys of kinetic weapons. The other 30 began boarding operations. Hundreds of humans in nothing but combat armor launched themselves at the station. They didn't aim for airlocks or docking ports. They used mining charges to blow their own entrances. They walked through areas flooded with radiation that would kill other species in minutes. They fought in zero gravity, in extreme heat, in toxic atmospheres, environments that barely slowed them down. Commander Stone led a team directly to the slave pens. The footage would later become the most watched broadcast in galactic history. Humans literally tearing apart reinforced doors with their bare hands to free imprisoned aliens. Children of dozen species running to their rescuers, not away from them, because even they recognized protectors when they saw them. The Ravager fleet tried to retreat, to regroup. That's when they learned about human persistence hunting. The 50 human ships became hundreds as reinforcements arrived. Not military vessels, cargo haulers, science ships, mining vessels, all converging on fleeing Ravagers with the inevitability of a tide. "We don't stop," Ross had explained to Vex earlier. On Earth, our ancestors would chase prey for days. Just walking, jogging, never stopping. The prey would exhaust themselves running. We just kept coming. The Ravagers scattered to the void, but humans followed. Every pirate base, every hidden stronghold, every secret slave market found human ships arriving. Not to destroy, to liberate and arrest. The Battle of Darkport lasted 18 hours. When it ended, the Ravager Empire as a military power had ceased to exist. 600 Ravager ships had been disabled or destroyed. The rest had surrendered at the cost. 3 human ships destroyed. 42 human lives lost. Each one was given a hero's funeral broadcast across the galaxy. Their names were added to a monument on Earth with a simple inscription. They stood between evil and innocence. In the weeks that followed, The galaxy watched as humans transformed from terrifying Deathworlders to something else entirely. The freed slaves, over 1 million beings, were given medical care, transportation home, and resources to rebuild. Human colonies opened their doors to refugees. Human companies hired former slaves, taught them trades. The Galactic Council reconvened to address the new reality. The Ravager Empire's seat stood empty. In their place, a new petition had been filed. The Freed Systems Alliance, former slave worlds now under human protection. This is unprecedented, the chairman said. No species has ever voluntarily become protector of so many others. Ambassador Park stood again. With respect, Chairman, we're not doing this for glory or power. We're doing it because it's right. But what do you want in return? The Yothran representative asked. Resources? Territory? Trade rights? Friends, Park said simply. We want friends. Earth is a lonely place, Chairman. It tries to kill us every day. We've fought everything, the planet, the weather, diseases, even each other. We're tired of fighting. We'd rather protect. Captain Vex was called to testify about his experience. He stood before the assembly, his crew beside him. The humans are everything we were warned about, Vex said. They're dangerous, violent, and capable of destruction on a scale we can barely comprehend. He paused. They're also kind, generous, and willing to die for strangers. They're predators who chose to be shepherds. They're monsters who decided to be heroes. Young Pip, now fully recovered, added, They saved us when no one else could. When no one else would. The vote was called. The question: would the Galactic Council formally recognize humanity as protector species, with authority to respond to distress calls and criminal acts, regardless of jurisdiction? 298 votes in favor. 2 abstaining. As the assembly erupted in celebration, a new alert came through, a distress signal from a research station near a black hole. Before the council could even discuss response protocols, human voices were already on the channel. This is the cargo hauler Lucky Strike. We're 8 minutes out. Research vessel Carl Sagan responding. ETA 12 minutes. Mining ship Deep 6 here. We've got specialized equipment for gravitational anomalies. On our way. The chairman turned to Ambassador Park. They're already going? Park shrugged, that uniquely human gesture. Of course. Someone needs help. Captain Vex made his final log entry as he watched human ships race toward danger once again. Personal log. Captain Vex of the Silver Wing. Final entry regarding the human intervention. We sent a distress call expecting death. We received warriors who became healers, monsters who chose to be guardians. They came from a world that shaped them into the ultimate survivors, and they used that strength to ensure others could survive too. The galaxy called them Deathworlders. They called themselves human. But I know what they really are. They're hope. When the darkness comes, when pirates raid, when evil rises, the Deathworlders' wrath will answer. Not for conquest or glory, but for a simple truth they learned on their harsh world. Life is precious because it is fragile, and the strong must protect the weak. The distress call we sent didn't bring help. It brought something better. It brought humanity. And the galaxy will never be the same. As the Silver Wing prepared to depart, now with its enhanced shields and human emergency beacon, Tam asked his captain, Do you think they'll always come when called? Vex watched the human ships disappearing into hyperspace, racing toward someone else's emergency. Yes, he said with certainty. They'll always come. It's who they are. The Deathworlders chose to be life-bringers. And that, he touched the human distress beacon they'd installed, is why we'll never be alone again. In the distance, Earth's sun shone like any other star, unremarkable, ordinary. But from it came a species that was anything but ordinary. They were Deathworlders who chose life, monsters who chose mercy, predators who chose to protect. And whenever the darkness threatened, whenever innocent voices cried out in fear, the Deathworlders would answer, not with conquest, but with compassion, backed by the strength of a species that had conquered death itself on their own world. The galaxy had called for help, and humanity had answered. The end. Asterisk.